I said, "Hey, honey." Alain Queen blushed and said, "Yes, darling," and we laughed together. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the human ship Defiance, watching the massive alien fleet approach through the stars. The enemy vessels looked like giant metal spiders, each one 3 times larger than her ship. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb the light from nearby stars. "Captain, we're getting signals from the other human ships," said Lieutenant Martinez from his station. "They're asking for orders." Sarah looked at the tactical display. 12 human ships faced more than 300 alien vessels. The math was simple and terrible. But she had learned something important during her 20 years in space. Humans never gave up, even when the odds looked impossible. "Open a channel to all ships," she ordered. The communication officer nodded. "Channel open, Captain." Sarah took a deep breath. "This is Captain Chen of the Defiance. I know what you're all thinking. I know the numbers don't look good. But remember who we are. We're humans. We've been told we couldn't survive since the day our species learned to walk. Every other race in the galaxy thought we would destroy ourselves before we reached the stars." She paused, looking at her crew. They were young and old, from different planets and backgrounds. But they all had the same look in their eyes: determination. "The Velkari Empire has conquered 47 worlds," she continued. "They've never lost a battle. They think we're just another weak species that will bow to their power. They're about to learn they're wrong." 3 days earlier, the Velkari had sent a message to Earth. It was simple: surrender or be destroyed. The human government had sent back an even simpler message: no. Now the Velkari fleet was here to make good on their threat. But they didn't understand humans. They couldn't understand a species that would choose to fight against impossible odds rather than live as slaves. "Captain," called out Commander Torres from the weapons station. "The Velkari are sending a message." "Put it on screen." The main display showed a tall, gray-skinned alien with 4 arms and cold black eyes. When it spoke, the ship's computer translated its words into English. "Human vessel. I am Fleet Commander Zarth of the Velkari Empire. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Sarah smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. "Tell the fleet commander that humans don't surrender. We have a saying on Earth: give me liberty or give me death." He's about to see what that means. The alien's expression didn't change. "Your species is foolish. We have studied your history. You fight wars against your own kind over small pieces of land. You cannot work together for long. You will break under pressure. You studied our history, but you didn't understand it." Sarah replied, "Yes, we fight among ourselves. But when something threatens all of humanity, we become something else. We become unstoppable." The transmission ended. The Velkari fleet began to move closer. All ships. "This is Chen," Sarah announced. "Remember the plan. We can't win through firepower, so we'll win through something they don't have: creativity. Humans have always been good at finding new ways to solve old problems." The human ships spread out in a formation that looked random to outside observers. But Sarah knew each captain understood their role. They had trained for this moment, even though no one had believed it would actually come. "Captain, sensors are picking up something strange," reported the science officer, Dr. Kim. "The Velkari ships are all connected by some kind of communication network. It looks like they share information instantly across their entire fleet." Sarah nodded. The intelligence reports had suggested this. The Velkari fought as one mind, with perfect coordination. It was one of the reasons they had never lost a battle. "That's their strength," she said. "But it might also be their weakness." Lieutenant Martinez, "Signal the other ships. Tell them to begin Phase 1. The human ships suddenly changed direction. Instead of fighting as a group, they scattered in different directions. To the Velkari, it must have looked like the humans were running away in panic. But Sarah knew better. Each human ship was now acting independently, using tactics that couldn't be predicted or countered by the Velkari's shared intelligence. Captain Rodriguez on the Pioneer was using asteroids for cover. Captain Johnson on the horizon was diving toward a nearby planet. Gravity well. Captain Park on the Endeavour was charging straight at the center of the Velkari formation. The Velkari tried to respond, but their perfect coordination became a problem. They couldn't adapt quickly to 12 different, unpredictable human strategies. All happening at once, their network is trying to process too much random information. Dr. Kim reported, "It's slowing down their response time." Sarah felt a small spark of hope. All ships, Phase 2. Remember, we're not trying to destroy their fleet. We're trying to survive long enough to show the galaxy that the Velkari can be fought. The battle was about to begin. Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. They were scared. She could see it in their faces. But they were also ready to fight. That was the human way. When facing the impossible, humans didn't give up. They found a way to make the impossible possible. "Weapons ready, Captain," Commander Torres reported. "Good. Today, we show the galaxy what humans are really made of." The first Velkari ship opened fire, sending beams of deadly energy toward the Defiance. Sarah gripped her command chair as the ship shook under the impact. The last stand of humanity had begun. The Defiant shook as energy beams struck its shields. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge. But Captain Sarah Chen remained calm. Around her, the crew worked at their stations with focused determination. "Shields at 80%, reported. Lieutenant Martinez, hull damage minimal." Sarah watched the tactical display as the 12 human ships danced between the much larger Velkari fleet. Captain Rodriguez's Pioneer was using the asteroid field like a maze, appearing from behind one rock to fire at the aliens, then disappearing behind another. The Velkari ships were too big to follow through the narrow spaces. "Captain Park is doing something crazy again," Dr. Kim announced, pointing at the display. On the screen, the Endeavour was spinning in tight circles as it flew straight toward 3 Velkari ships. The aliens were firing at it, but the spinning motion made it impossible to hit. Captain Park fired back at just the right moments, scoring hits onto enemy vessels. "That's why we're winning," Sarah said with pride. "The Velkari fight like a computer program. They follow rules and patterns. Humans break rules." Commander Torres smiled as he fired the ship's weapons at a passing Velkari vessel. "Speaking of breaking rules, Captain, I have an idea. What if we do something they would never expect? I'm listening. What if we pretend to surrender?" The bridge went quiet for a moment. Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "The Velkari think all species fight the same way," Torres continued. "They expect us to either run away or fight until we're destroyed. They don't expect tricks." Dr. Kim looked up from her station. It could work. Their communication network is already struggling to track our ships. If we suddenly stop fighting, it might confuse their system even more. Sarah thought for a moment. It was dangerous, but it was also exactly the kind of crazy plan that might work. "All ships. This is Chen. New plan. When I give the signal, all ships stop fighting and send surrender messages. But keep your weapons ready, Captain." "Are you sure about this?" asked Lieutenant Martinez. "No," Sarah replied honestly. "But that's what makes us human. We try things that might not work because sometimes they do." The Defiance continued to dodge enemy fire as Sarah waited for the right moment. 3 Velkari ships were closing in on the horizon, and Captain Johnson was running out of space too. "Run, now," Sarah ordered. "All ships, send surrender signals and stop fighting immediately." Across the battlefield, the human ships suddenly stopped moving and fighting. They broadcast the same message: "We surrender. Please do not fire." The Velkari fleet, which had been firing constantly, suddenly stopped as well. Sarah could imagine their shared network trying to process this unexpected development. Fleet Commander's Art H appeared on the main screen again. "Human ships, maintain position. We are sending boarding parties to take control of your vessels." "Understood," Sarah replied, trying to sound defeated. "We will not resist," Dr. Kim whispered. "Captain, their ships are moving into boarding formation. They're getting very close to our vessels." Sarah nodded. The Velkari ships were now positioned right next to the human ships, their guards down because they believed the humans had given up. "All ships." Sarah whispered into her communication device. "Phase 3. Remember, We only get one chance. What happened next would later be called the Humanity Gambit. In military academies across the galaxy, all 12 human ships suddenly powered up their engines and weapons at the same time. But instead of trying to escape, they moved closer to the Velkhari ships that were right next to them. The Defiant spun around and fired all its weapons at point-blank range into the side of a massive Velkhari vessel. The alien ship's shields couldn't stop the attack at such close distance. Explosions ripped through its hull all across the battlefield. Human ships were doing the same thing. The Pioneer rammed into a Velkhari ship's engine section, the Horizon, fired its emergency rockets to crash into an enemy command center. The Endeavor used its mining lasers to cut through an alien hull like it was cutting through rock. Their network is crashing, Dr. Kim shouted with excitement. Too many ships are being damaged at once. They can't coordinate. The remaining Velkhari ships began firing wildly, but they were hitting their own vessels as much as the human ships. Their perfect coordination had become chaos. Captain, Commander Torres reported. We've destroyed or disabled 30 enemy ships. The rest are pulling back. Sarah couldn't believe it. Pulling back? They're retreating? It looks like it, Captain. The remaining ships are moving away from us. Fleet Commander Zart H appeared on screen one more time. His expression was different. Now, for the first time, there was something that looked like respect in his cold eyes. Human Captain Chen, he said slowly, you have done something that has never been done before. You have made the Velkhari fleet retreat. This will be remembered. Good. Sarah replied, make sure you remember this message too. Humans don't surrender, ever. The transmission ended, and the Velkhari fleet disappeared into the darkness of space. Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. They were cheering and hugging each other. They had not only survived the impossible battle, they had won it. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The Velkhari Empire would be back, and they would be ready for human tricks next time. Humanity would need to be ready too. The real war was about to begin. News of the human victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On hundreds of worlds, billions of beings heard the same impossible story. 12 small human ships had defeated a Velkhari fleet and made them retreat. Captain Sarah Chen sat in her quarters aboard the Defiance, reading reports from across known space. Every alien government was sending messages to Earth. Some wanted to make trade agreements. Others wanted military alliances. A few wanted to surrender to humanity, thinking humans were the new galactic superpower. They don't understand, Sarah said to herself. We didn't win because we're stronger. We won because we think differently. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. Come in. Dr. Kim entered with a worried expression. Captain, we're getting some strange signals from deep space. I think you need to see this. They walked to the bridge together. Lieutenant Martinez was at his station, looking nervous. What do we have? Sarah asked. Captain, we're picking up massive energy signatures, Martinez reported. Much bigger than anything we've seen before. The computers estimate at least 2,000 ships heading this way. Sarah felt her stomach drop. Velkhari, yes, but not just Velkhari, Dr. Kim said, pointing at the sensor readings. There are ships from at least 6 different alien species. It looks like the Velkhari called their allies. Commander Torres looked up from his station. Captain, we're also getting a transmission from Earth. Admiral Harrison wants to speak with you immediately. The main screen activated, showing a tired-looking older man in a military uniform. Admiral Harrison had been fighting alien threats for 30 years, but Sarah had never seen him look this worried. Captain Chen, the Admiral said, first, congratulations on your victory. The whole galaxy is talking about what you did. But we have a problem? The Alliance fleet heading our way, Sarah asked. That's part of it. But there's something else. We're getting reports from our spy networks across the galaxy. The Velkhari aren't just angry about losing a battle. They're terrified. Sarah frowned. Terrified? Of us? Think about it from their perspective, Admiral Harrison explained. For thousands of years, they've conquered everyone they've fought. They believe they're the strongest species in the galaxy. Then a small group of humans comes along and defeats them using tactics they've never seen before. Dr. Kim spoke up. They're worried that if humans can beat them, other species might try to rebel too. Exactly, the Admiral continued. Intelligence reports say the Velkari are calling this an extinction event. They believe that if humanity isn't destroyed completely, their entire empire will fall apart. Sarah understood now, so they're not just coming to get revenge. They're coming to wipe out our entire species, every human world, every human ship, every human settlement. The Admiral confirmed. They want to make sure that what happened at your battle never happens again. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Finally, Commander Torres asked, "What are our orders, Admiral?" "Earth is sending every ship we have to help defend the outer colonies," Admiral Harrison said. "But honestly, Captain, we don't have enough ships to fight 2,000 enemy vessels. We need another miracle." After the transmission ended, Sarah looked around at her crew. They had been celebrating their victory just hours ago. Now they faced an even bigger challenge. "Captain," Lieutenant Martinez said quietly. "What do we do now?" Sarah thought for a moment. "We do what humans have always done when things look impossible. We find a way to win." Dr. Kim shook her head. "Captain, I don't see how. 12 ships against 300 was impossible. But we got lucky. 12 ships against 2,000? That's not a battle. That's suicide." "You're thinking like them," Sarah replied. "You're thinking about ship numbers and firepower. But that's not how we won the first battle." She walked to the tactical display and pointed at the approaching enemy fleet. "Look at this, 6 different alien species all working together. Do you know what that means?" Commander Torres studied the display. Different technologies, different fighting styles, different languages, different cultures, different ways of thinking. Sarah said with growing excitement, "The Velkari Empire works because they control everything with their shared network. But these allies, they're all independent. They can't share information the way the Velkari do." Dr. Kim began to understand. "So they'll have communication problems. More than that," Sarah continued. "They'll have trust problems. These species have probably been enemies of each other in the past. The only thing holding them together is their fear of humans." Lieutenant Martinez looked confused. "But Captain, how does that help us?" "They still have 2,000 ships." Sarah smiled. It was the same smile she had shown Fleet Commander Zart H before their first battle. "Because fear makes people and aliens do stupid things. And when people do stupid things, humans find ways to take advantage of it." She turned to Commander Torres. "Send a message to all human ships in the area. Tell them to meet us at the Proxima station. We're going to need everyone for this." "What's the plan, Captain?" Dr. Kim asked. "We're going to do something so crazy, so unexpected, that it will break apart their alliance before the real fighting even starts," Sarah replied. "We're going to surrender again." The crew stared at her in shock. "But this time," Sarah continued, "we're going to surrender to the wrong species." As the Defiance changed course toward Proxima Station, Sarah began working on the most dangerous plan in human history. If it worked, they might save humanity. If it failed, the human race would be extinct within a week. But that was tomorrow's problem. Today, they had to convince 30 other human captains to trust her with a plan that sounded completely insane. Sarah had faith they would understand. After all, insane plans were becoming a human specialty. Proxima Station was the largest human outpost in the Outer Rim. When Captain Sarah Chen arrived, 43 human ships were already waiting. She had called for 30, but word of the massive alien alliance had spread quickly. More captains kept arriving every hour. The meeting took place in the station's main conference room. Sarah looked around at the faces of her fellow captains. Some were young, fresh from the academy. Others were veterans who had been fighting in space for decades. All of them looked worried. Captain Rodriguez from the Pioneer spoke first. "Chen, I'll follow you anywhere after what we did to the Velkari. But surrendering to 2,000 enemy ships, that sounds like actual suicide, not fake suicide." Several other captains nodded in agreement. Captain Johnson from the Horizon raised her hand. "Sarah, explain this plan again. I want to make sure I understand what you're asking us to do." Sarah stood up and activated the holographic display in the center of the room. It showed the approaching alien fleet, a massive cloud of ships from 6 different species. "Look at this fleet," she began. "The Velkari ships are in the center, about 400 of them. Around them are the Zephyrians with their fast attack ships. Behind them are the Korthik with their heavy battleships. The Silter have their stealth vessels on the flanks." She pointed to different sections of the fleet. Each species has their own formation, their own tactics, their own commanders. The only thing keeping them together is their fear of us. Captain Pard from the Endeavor leaned forward. "So what's the plan?" "We're going to surrender," Sarah said. "But we're going to surrender only to the Zephyrians." The room erupted in confused voices. Captain Williams from the Courage stood up. "Why the Zephyrians? They're the smallest part of the fleet." "Exactly," Sarah replied with a smile. "The Zephyrians have always been treated like the weakest member of this alliance. The Velkari look down on them, the Korthik ignore them. But if we surrender specifically to the Zephyrians, we're telling the galaxy that we think they're the real leaders." Dr. Kim, who had joined the meeting, added, "The other species will be insulted. They'll think we're saying the Zephyrians are stronger or more important than them." Captain Rodriguez began to understand. "And when aliens get insulted, they get angry," Sarah finished, "and angry people make mistakes." The plan was complex but brilliant. The human fleet would approach the alien alliance and broadcast a surrender message, but only to the Zephyrian ships. They would praise the Zephyrians as the true power in the alliance, and ask to negotiate only with them. The Zephyrians will be so surprised and flattered that they'll probably accept, Sarah explained. "They've been waiting for respect for centuries, but the other species will be furious. They'll think the Zephyrians are trying to take control of the alliance." Captain Johnson shook her head. "It's crazy enough that it might work. But what if they just ignore our insults and attack anyway? Then we fight," Sarah said simply. "But humans have one advantage in understanding alien psychology. We've spent our entire history dealing with different tribes, different nations, different cultures. We know how pride and jealousy work." 3 days later, the human fleet faced the massive alien alliance in the Centauri system. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching as 2,000 enemy ships approached. Her heart was beating fast, but her voice was steady. "All ships, this is Captain Chen. Remember, we only talk to the Zephyrians. Everyone else gets ignored." She opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. "Zephyrian vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the human fleet. We wish to surrender to your superior forces. We recognize the Zephyrian Empire as the true power in this alliance." The response was immediate chaos. Multiple alien voices began speaking at once, but the ship's computer could only translate one at a time. A Velkari commander appeared on screen. "First, human ship, you will surrender to the Velkari Empire. We are the leaders of this fleet." Sarah looked bored. "I'm sorry, but we're only authorized to speak with Zephyrian commanders. Please transfer us to them." Before the Velkari could respond, a different alien appeared, tall and thin with blue skin and large eyes. This was Commander Velter of the Zephyrians. "Human captain," the Zephyrian said, trying to hide his excitement. "We accept your surrender. You show wisdom in recognizing our authority." Behind him, Sarah could hear other Zephyrian voices cheering. They had never been treated as the senior species in any alliance before. But then a massive Korthik commander pushed the Zephyrian aside. The Korthik looked like a walking tank with thick armor. "And for arms, Zephyrian fool," the Korthik growled. "The humans surrendered to Korthik Empire. We have biggest ships." "Actually," Sarah interrupted politely, "we've studied your military records. The Zephyrians have won more battles than any other species in this alliance. That's why we're surrendering to them." It was a complete lie, but Sarah said it with such confidence that several species began checking their own records. The alien communication channel became a screaming match. The Velkari insisted they were the leaders. The Korthik claimed they were the strongest. The Silter demanded recognition for their stealth technology. The other species joined in, each claiming they deserved the human surrender. "Captain," Dr. Kim whispered excitedly, "their fleet formation is breaking apart. Different species are moving away from each other." Sarah watched as the perfectly organized alien fleet began to fall apart. ships that have been flying in formation, were now pointing weapons at each other instead of at the humans. But then something unexpected happened. Fleet Commander Zart H appeared on screen, pushing all the other aliens aside. "Enough," he roared. "Humans, you think you are clever, but we see your trick. All species will work together to destroy you." Sarah's heart sank. The plan had worked almost perfectly, but the Velkari commander was smarter than she had hoped. "All human ships," she commanded, "prepare for battle. Looks like we're doing this the hard way." But as the human ships powered up their weapons, something amazing happened. Half the alien fleet didn't respond to the Velkari orders. The Zephyrians, insulted that their moment of glory was being taken away, refused to attack. The Korthik, angry that anyone thought the Zephyrians were stronger, also held back. The alliance was cracking. The question was, would it break completely before the shooting started? Fleet Commander Zarth's angry voice echoed across all communication channels. "All ships will attack the humans immediately. This is a direct order." But Captain Sarah Chen watched with growing amazement as the alien alliance continued to fall apart on her tactical display. She could see different species moving their ships away from each other, instead of toward the human fleet. "Captain," Dr. Kim reported excitedly, "the Zephyrians are refusing to follow Velkari orders. They're saying they want to accept the human surrender personally," Commander Torres added. "The Korthik are demanding that all species acknowledge their military superiority before any attack begins." Sarah couldn't help but smile. "And the other species? The Silter are using their stealth ships to hide behind asteroids," Lieutenant Martinez said. "The hegemony vessels are demanding a vote on who should lead the attack. The consortium ships are actually flying away from the battle area." What Sarah was watching had never happened before in galactic history. A military alliance of 6 species was destroying itself without a single shot being fired by the enemy. Commander Velter of the Zephyrians appeared on screen again, his blue face flushed with pride. "Human Captain Chen, we Zephyrians accept your wise surrender. We will protect you from these other inferior species." Before Sarah could respond, the massive Korthik commander pushed him aside again. "Zephyrian weakling, humans surrender to Korthik. We prove strength by crushing all enemies." "Actually," Sarah said calmly, "we've changed our minds about surrendering." Both alien commanders stopped arguing and stared at her. "You see," Sarah continued, "we've been watching your alliance for the past hour, and we've realized something important. You're not strong enough to make us surrender." The communication channel exploded with angry alien voices, but Sarah kept talking. "Look at yourselves, 6 species, thousands of ships, and you can't even agree on who we should surrender to. How are you supposed to fight a war together?" "Fleet." Commander Zart H appeared on screen, his forearms shaking with rage. "Human tricks will not work. Velkari Empire will destroy you." "With whose help?" Sarah asked innocently. "The Zephyrians who think they're in charge? The Korthik who won't fight until everyone admits they're the strongest? The consortium who are already running away?" She was right. On the tactical display, the alien fleet was scattered across space. Ships that should have been working together were pointing weapons at each other. The perfect military formation had become complete chaos. "All human ships," Sarah announced, "new plan. We're going to do something these species have never seen before. We're going to work together." The 43 human ships moved into a tight formation. Each captain knew their role without needing detailed orders. They had trained together, fought together, and trusted each other completely. "Human vessels," Commander Velter called out, "you are making a mistake. Surrender to the Zephyrian Empire and we will show mercy." "Counter-offer," Sarah replied. "Why don't you surrender to us instead?" The alien commanders looked confused. "You are only 43 ships," the Korthik leader said. "We are 2,000. Numbers don't win wars," Sarah explained. "Unity wins wars. Teamwork wins wars. Trust wins wars. And looking at your fleet right now, we have all 3 of those things. You have none." As if to prove her point, a group of Korthik ships suddenly opened fire, not at the humans, but at a Zephyrian vessel that had moved too close to them. The Zephyrians fired back immediately. "The alliance is completely broken," Dr. Kim reported. Multiple species are now fighting each other. Fleet Commander Zart H made one last desperate attempt to restore order. All ships stopped fighting each other, attacked the humans, but it was too late. The Silter had decided the battle was too dangerous and were retreating. The consortium had already jumped to faster-than-light speed and disappeared. The hegemony ships were demanding a formal vote before taking any military action. Only the Velkari and about half the Korthic ships were still pointing their weapons at the humans. Even the Zephyrians were too busy fighting the other Korthic ships to worry about the original target. Captain, Commander Torres said quietly, "We're getting a message from the remaining Velkari ships. They want to talk." Fleet Commander Zart H appeared on screen one final time. He looked tired and defeated. Behind him, Sarah could see his bridge crew working frantically to coordinate what was left of their forces. "Human Captain Chen," he said slowly, "you have done something that should have been impossible. You have destroyed the greatest military alliance in galactic history without firing a shot." "We didn't destroy it," Sarah corrected him. "You destroyed it yourselves. We just helped it along." Zarth was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want from us?" Sarah thought carefully before answering. This was the moment that would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. "We want what we've always wanted," she said. "To be left alone to live our lives in peace. Earth, our colonies, our trade routes, they're off limits to the Velkari Empire, forever. And if we refuse," Sarah gestured toward the chaos of the alien fleet, "then we'll do to your empire what we just did to your alliance. We'll find every weakness, every rivalry, every jealousy in your government and use them against you. Humans are very good at that." Zarth looked around at the scattered remains of his mighty fleet. Korthic and Zephyrian ships were still fighting each other. The other species had either fled or were hiding behind asteroids. His own Velkari vessels were outnumbered by the human ships. "The Velkari Empire accepts your terms," he said finally. After the transmission ended, the bridge of the Defiance erupted in cheers. They had not only survived an impossible battle, they had won without losing a single ship. But Sarah felt no need to celebrate. She was already thinking about the future. Word of this victory would spread across the galaxy even faster than news of their first battle. Every species would know that humans could not only fight, but could turn enemies against each other using nothing but words and psychology. Some species would want to be allies. Others would be too afraid to ever threaten humanity again. A few might try to test human resolve, but they would face the same fate as the Velkari Alliance. "Captain," Dr. Kim said, "what do we do now?" Sarah looked out at the stars through the bridge windows. Somewhere out there were billions of worlds, trillions of beings, and countless adventures waiting for humanity. "Now," she said with a smile, "now we go home and tell everyone that humans have officially joined the galactic community, not as servants or conquerors, but as equals." The last stand of humanity had become the first step toward a new future among the stars.